We're back, and now we have the Grange Goman Master Plan in Dublin. I think this is a really interesting presentation, so I'm excited to present the people who present it. To my left is James O'Connor, who's a principal with Moore, Rebel, Udell Architects, and to his left is Michael Hand, who is the head of the development agency and, in fact, the client. He's very important. And the president of the college, Brian Norton, and we're just joking because he's got so many titles after his card that it goes on 2 lines. So I'll just say that he's the president of the college. So I was looking at this plan. I'm really it's amazing because well, there's a lot going on here, but it's an enormous project. Maybe you can give us a little bit of introduction. You can.
This is an extraordinary time, I think, in Europe right now, and all the difficulties with the Eurozone, and Ireland has had its incredible share of that too. But this is a unique time now that there's a new focus. The focus is on education and young people. This site is in the core of the city. It's been walled off and closed off for 200 years. So imagine almost 80 acres in the centre of a historical city like Dublin, a walled off place, closed off for 200 years. It was a mental hospital, and now it's going to be opened up and be the campus of a new university in the centre of the city.
Incredible. Do you have any? Because you must be instrumental in because you come to James.
Yes, we are required, obviously, in to procure a project like this. We're required to go to international competition, and James, he hasn't said, is originally from that area, so he spotted this advert and responded to it, and I think the agency were delighted that he came through the competition, and I think he has shown a tremendous passion and interest in the project because of his local childhood acknowledgement of the area and living in the area. And this has proved to be a huge benefit to the agency in selling the project locally, in terms of convincing the locals to actually accept this level of development in what is, if you like, largely a brownfield site at the present time.
So it's been helpful to have the architect who is from this place and knows the history of this place as a mental asylum.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It actually allows the people to connect with the architect. One of the biggest problems with all design professionals is connecting with the local community and trying to demonstrate that this fantastic project is going to be of tremendous benefit to the community in every way. And I think James's involvement and local knowledge proved to be crucial in that. And also his great love and knowledge and interest of Dublin city and its historical background was a tremendous benefit to the overall project.
Well, let me ask Brian about the program, because this is part of it's a university. Is that right?
Yep. Most of the development is a new university campus, but the site has been a hospital for the mentally ill and predecessor institutions for many hundreds of years, in fact. And the first building, which is nearly complete on the far left-hand corner of the plan you see there, is the new replacement health facility. So the challenge for Michael and his colleagues was to work with both ourselves as a client, with the health authority who run the hospital as a client, and also meeting a complex set of stakeholders in the local government, in the local community, etc. So many communities. It's important to realise this site is in the centre of Dublin, 73 acres in the centre of a capital city. And from my perspective, the important thing here was to keep a tradition of 130 years of our institution of being in the city and being connected to the city. So we wanted a campus that linked through and linked with the community. Also used the site in a very sympathetic way. It's a very constrained site, etc. So a lot of design constraints, a lot of historic baggage of the location, and a lot of conflicting stakeholders. And I think it's quite a remarkable achievement to come out with a coherent master plan with all those drivers. campus.
No, what I saw that in the plan that a lot of the buildings will be preserved or
Yep.
adaptively reused.
Yep.
Those are the hospital buildings?
Yes, well, not all hospital buildings. There are the ones that are protected structures, are preserved structures, are old stone buildings that we want to retain anyway. The more modern, and I say modern within the sort of last 50 years or 60 years, hospital buildings are being demolished and aren't really fit for purpose. But we are retaining the old. They are a feature, they are a texture, and we're building around that, and they're very, very neatly incorporated into the development.
And so the program for the mental asylum that'll be redesigned as
it's not
a new
modern.
How do we call it now? I'm
yes,
sorry.
indeed. Yes, modern treatment for those with mental illnesses is very different. Previously, it was an asylum; people were literally locked up.
Okay.
There's less of that treatment today, and in fact, it takes place in another hospital. The facility that's been completed as we speak is more daycare, is more how do people cope with their conditions and are integrated in the community. It's a more modern approach to mental health.
Okay.
And it's reflected, in fact, in a building which is far more modern and forward-looking and will be coherent with the rest of the planning of the campus.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My father's a psychiatrist. He would kill me if he heard me. I'm sorry. So maybe, James, I'd like to ask you, I mean, this is a huge project. The first thing is that it's a walled-off section. So what happens to those walls?
Well, part of the walls are, of course, the community has lived around here, and not only has it been walled off, but it's kind of sterilized the outside as well. There's no life outside, and very close by, it's a very pedestrian city. So on one hand, the community wants to open up the walls, and yet we also want to retain the history. It's not erasing or getting rid of the history. When you go to Berlin, I miss the wall. I know the wall stood for a lot of things, but they got rid of so much of the wall. You don't have the history, and I think it's important to celebrate human history, our time here, and to keep that,
right.
And to integrate it and open it up and connect people.
Okay. So part of the design is opening up portions of the wall,
opening up portions,
celebrating
of the wall.
them as gateways
yes,
of some
and using
sort.
using the wall to inform the kind of history and memory of the place. The Irish have a long memory. Sorry, they remember all the dates. And this doesn't seem that long ago, 200 years for them. But it's important, I think, especially when we see so much work happening around the world. We work in Asia a lot, and I'm really taken back by how much of the history is erased. Human history, and I'm not talking about historical structures, but just places that people have walked and lived for years. And we don't want to make it a memorial, but it's important to tell people what went on there, as part of the history of the place.
And what about the architectural expression? I'm curious because, there's so many buildings, and it's interesting because normally when you're building in a historic center, there's context. And now, in a way, you don't have context. It's all virgin land. Well, it's mostly virgin land, all new buildings.
Well,
mostly new buildings.
Yeah.
You're creating the context in a way.
We have about... it's deep in the centre of a medieval historical core in Dublin. It's very intact fabric. On this site itself, we have about 11 historical buildings, which we're going to give all kinds of new uses. Like, for instance, we're putting the architects in the kind of the toughest building, because I think that's where they belong. They shouldn't get a new building. They need to learn the history, right? It's not a blank slate. So we're putting them into the clock tower building. And we want to engage all of the old buildings, and we're not knocking down any of these structures. We're setting the master plan, and many architects from around Ireland and Europe will design each of the buildings.
I see.
It would be a mistake for one firm to design all of this, because the places that we like in the world have evolved over time, and I think you need to get that feeling of different people, different hands, not something instantaneously.
James, I think you're crying. You're speaking so...
I don't know.
No, you know what it is? You're so passionate about this building. This project. It's wonderful.
Sometimes things get very close to you, and I speak lots of places, and it's, but something about Ireland, it sort of connects, about the history. It's had a long history here, and, it's a large mental asylum, but, of course, most people in Ireland have some connection with this with this institution.
No, but I'm really impressed by this notion that you can plan this wonderful project, this enormous project, and then at the same time, as an architect, step back and say that the way that this can be truly a vital city is to say that we'll design parts of it, create kind of a plan, and let other architects then infill and give it the richness and quality that it deserves. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, I think it's important to have a loose hand, a loose fit. You set the principles, but then have other things happen. It's richer.
Right.
You know, I mean, the cities that you enjoy going around the world, often many architects haven't designed them, but there's something about, you know, a lot of things happening that makes it a rich place to be. Instantaneous places that have been designed by one hand, no matter how good they are, seem very sterile.
So when can we visit?
Ask my boss.
Okay, we're fortunate, I suppose, that this very week we got the planning approval on this project, so which is a huge achievement because it is quite a large development, as you can see.
Yep.
And so now we have already started one building which was advanced using an earlier planning permission. So now we've got to really pump for the funds and talk to people about funding and move the project forward. So we have got the wherewithal to move it forward now. It's about funding, and it will be developed incrementally over a number of years, and the first phase is approximately 500 million euro of development, so it's quite a large chunk of funds to be assembled. That's partly my job, to find the money and then to deliver it out. I think delivery is the easy bit. The hard bit has been done, in my view.
This part's the hard part. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this project moves forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.